Good evening, and welcome to the You Don't Know What You Don't Know podcast. This is an educational podcast that provides information on past and present historical events. These are events that shape the perspective of Black Americans and their experience as citizens of this United States of America. Tonight, Sister Cleo and I want to talk about a controversial new movie, The Woman King. We both went to see the movie and we shared our thoughts on the movie, but we decided let's look and see what other people are saying about the movie. So tonight we want to review the review of two different groups that saw the movie. The first is Dr. Boyce Watkins and his wife Alicia Watkins. Dr. Watkins is a political analyzer. He's an author. He's a financial advisor, and I subscribe to his YouTube channel. He has his PhD in finance. His wife is Dr. Alicia Boykins, and she is a licensed relationship therapist. We also wanted to look at another review, and we looked at Michael M. Hotep. Now, Michael has a podcast. It's called the African History Network, and that can be seen Sunday nights from 9 to 11, and that's Eastern Standard Time. Michael also teaches classes in African history, in African/African American history. So you can connect with him on the African History Network. What we wanted to do was, Sister Cleo will tell you about what she listened to, and I'll tell you what I thought of their review. It was interesting seeing the different perspectives of the same movie from a financial standpoint, and I'm saying that with a financial advisor and having his studies in finance. I thought that was interesting listening to his perspective, and then his wife as a relationship therapist, and then also listening to Michael Imhotep as a history teacher and Professor James Small as just an all-around. We'll put a link into both YouTube videos so you can watch both of them. They are both phenomenal and interesting and tell a lot about us in America. Without further ado, Sister Cleo?
All right, thank you, Sister Maddie. My review is between Professor James Small, and he's interviewed by Michael Imhotep, and I know I didn't pronounce his last name right. But anyway, and it's about the movie Woman King. I enjoyed the movie. I learned a little bit, and I'm happy that I saw it. I have read other reviews. This one is a good one. I think some of the others had different opinions about the women and whether or not they were involved in the slave trade. But anyway, my comments will only be on the movie, and it's regarding what Professor James Small has to say about the movie. Okay. First of all, he said he loved the movie, he loves Viola Davis, and that she is an extraordinary actress, and I do agree with him on that. He says she doesn't let up in this movie. It's an outstanding movie to me as far as acting is concerned. I think not only Viola, but the other actors, they did a hell of a job. They really did. Now, I'm not, and I hate to say it, I'm not that familiar with the topic. But as a matter of fact, I just learned about the women. A lot of times they refer to as the Amazons, but they are called the Ahoshi. And they were real. I mean, the story is actually based on true events. They were really real. These women were awesome. The movie is categorized as inspired by true events, and if you want to know what that means, go to screencraft.org. Uh, and Professor Small says that, now this is a difficult sentence for me. Professor Small says, transforming white content to African intent. Viola and her husband took the content and analyzed it and altered its intent. I think he made that statement in trying to answer, I believe Michael asked him something about, the two writers on the movie are both white and they are excellent. But I think Professor Small is trying to explain that they needed a little tweaking. And that's all I have to say on that. But I think that's what he was doing. The role and concept of queens in traditional African society is different than European societies. And this is, I guess that's something I always knew, but this movie and the way it's done really brings that point home. It really does. Okay, and today Professor Small says there are at least 5 woman kings in Nigeria. He says that his goddaughter is king of the Congo, king of the order of the leopards. And see, that statement just right there is why I need to study more, because I really have no understanding of the 2 titles there. King of the Congo, one title, King of the Order of the Leopards, the second title. So I'm learning, y'all, and I'm happy about it. Okay, back in the day when these women were in Dahomey and fighting and what have you, it was the woman was the power that granted the man the authority. And when I say that, this is how the king was chosen. And the king could be either male or female. Only the queen mothers could bring you to kingship. They are the ones who chose the king. And this is from the boys and young men that they had raised. And then they, in turn, choose which one is better suited to be the king. And Professor Small says these women not only were known in Africa, they were known all over the world and considered furious warriors. So he says all over the world, he said they were considered extraordinary of the extraordinary. I mean, they were fearless and feared. Really were. Professor Small says we have and I love this. He says, we have extraordinary history, y'all. And it's just awful that most of us, I'm not going to say most of us, I'll speak for me. I don't know our history. And I feel badly because I don't know it. He said that our history is so extraordinary. He said, we did not give up. I've never been told that we didn't give up. Everything I've been told is like we hung our heads and just accepted, didn't fight, scared to fight, just took it. But he says, and the reason I chose him for my topic because he's been in this for 30 years and I just believe him. And I plan to take some of his classes on our history. He said, we did not give up. Otherwise, we would still be in slavery. And that should tell us something, make us feel better, let us know we did something, you know. Dahomey was part of the Oyo kingdom. And I wanted to mention that because they did break away from the Oyo kingdom. One thing that Professor Small brings out is that when we talk about slavery, it's like we just took it. We just took it. He said, it's like I've been told we sold our people into slavery. It's like, and then after selling them into slavery, they sold the ones that sold the slaves. He said only 1% to 4% of our people were involved in slave trading. Now, I just mentioned that the queen mothers are the ones who select the king. Okay, now the role of the king in traditional African societies is spiritual. The king has no wealth, but he is taken care of, or she, whoever is the king at that time. The king represents the ancestors of all of us. The king interprets the ancestors' will and wisdom. The king is father of the community. The king's wife is not a queen. And the king works under I would call it tutorship of a council of the elders. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is regarding the Aoshi, AOSHI, the women warriors. Now, they said the men made up the infantry. The women made up the battle soldiers. Some men helped to train the women. The women warriors could not marry and they could not have children. Now, in the movie, their goal was to stop slavery throughout Africa. I don't know if that's a true fact or not. Maybe you could look it up. I know I'm going to search further. And they talk about the servitude system, which was in place in Dahomey. Dahomey had no prisons. If you committed a crime, no one took your name from you. No one took your humanity from you. No one took your spiritual identity from you. And no one took your family heritage. If you served your sentence, whatever it was, and after you served it, you were free to become a member of that community, stay there, marry there. You could marry the king. It was up to you. Or you could just go back to where you came from. It was up to you. There were no prisons in Dahomey. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Professor Small's comments. Now, he did talk about other things that was sort of aside to the movie. What I just spoke to you about were the things that what he really felt about the movie.
First, I want to review what I thought about the movie. I went to the movie because I wanted to be entertained, and I understand that that's what a movie is for. It's not the History Channel, it's not National Geographic or any of that stuff. So I went to see Viola Davis and her interpretation of a story. I understand that her and her husband were directors on the movie, and that her husband has experience with film, TV, and theater. He's a producer of all that. So I wanted to see what would that look like. And I also know that the director was a Black woman as well. And so I wanted to see what that looked like. But overall, I thought it was a great movie, a great piece of entertainment. And I thought if you're going to break the movie down into is it true or not, it wasn't supposed to be true. As Sister Cleo said, it was supposed to be inspired by the true stories. So, of course, in order to be inspired by, that means it's going to have a little bit of truth and a little bit of falsehood and a little bit of theatrics. Those are the things that inspired by means. What I did was I watched the review of Dr. Boyce Watkins and his wife, Alicia, and I was really surprised at their review of the movie. Some of the things that I noted in the review, they're both doctors. As I said earlier, he has a PhD in finance, and Alicia is a licensed relationship therapist. So I was kind of embarrassed that in the interview, they never mentioned any character by name. The only name they say is Viola Davis. They talk about the emasculation of men, but in African culture, and I guess it goes back to we've been trained in European ways. We have no knowledge of Africa, no knowledge of the motherland, and it was very obvious and evident in this review of the movie. So first of all, African cultures are, a lot of them, matriarchal, meaning women-centered. It's not an emasculation of the man. And to call a person woman king is not an emasculation of men. It is an acknowledgement of the fact that in Africa, king doesn't mean man. Queen doesn't mean woman. And as Sister Cleo explained, queen means something else. Embarrassed that these two learned people would automatically start talking about emasculation. Also, I put a review on their YouTube video, which is audio, and I called their review ghetto because I was so disappointed. Like I said, I listened to Dr. Boyce Watkins. I listened to his financial advice, and I think it's sound advice. But this, I think maybe him and his wife were trying to just kind of liven things up and get away from the finance of it and get away from the stressful relationship stuff of it and just have some fun. But like I said, I think this was a very, very demeaning thing they did for the movie. It's fine that you didn't like it, but to call a character in the movie Al B. Sure, was that an insult to Al B. Sure or the character Malik? I'm not sure, but I was kind of disappointed in that. And another thing they said was Nawi, that she wasn't, well, Alicia said this, that she didn't fight well until the last scene when she put on the European clothes. I think the whole point and the point of the game in the beginning before she passed the final test and her subsequent battles was that she was a great fighter. And when she put on the European undergarments, that didn't make her any less. It didn't take away from her skill. I think that was the case, as opposed to Alicia saying she was able to be a great fighter once she put on European clothes. I took the opposite from it. Again, like I said, I wanted to talk about this because it's interesting how, based on what you think, what you know, what you're looking for, you have a different perspective and a different seeing of the same event. They also likened when Izogi, yes, when Izogi's killed, when Nawi goes back to Izogi, yeah, that's just like the scene from Boys in the Hood. And really? Really? If that's the case, I can name countless other movies, non-Black, where there's that same type of scene. What do you think? They just pull together all the Black movies to make a spoof? So again, like I said, I was very disappointed in their review. But I did also watch the Michael M. Hotep interview of James Small, and that interview had substance to it and value to me because it didn't just review the new movie, it gave us the history of the things that we didn't know. I challenge you to do better. I challenge you because everybody's always very critical of something, what it isn't, what it should be. The fact that the king, they call the king a pimp. Now, I didn't see that. And Alicia made reference to the fact that, I don't believe in that multiple wives thing. Well, no, that's because you've been raised in a European culture. I've been raised in a European culture and I don't believe in it. But if it's a movie about Africa, in Africa, Africans in the past, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure why they even did the review so soon after seeing the movie. I would have preferred that they take a minute to at least identify people because they kept saying she, and the one when she runs back. They never named anybody by name, which I think is a disservice to them, not to the movie. It's a disservice to them. And they sat in the movie and talked and laughed and stuff. What, really? Really? Boyce Watkins, when he rated the movie, he rated it a 1 out of 5. He said, if you're a man like me and you don't want to be emasculated, you're not going to like the movie. But if you're a different kind of man and you, let me see, how did he say that? You kind of sort of swing like the other way and you like movies like Wonder Woman and different movies where women are the warriors and stuff like that. Or if you with the LBGT, then you may like it. So not only did he insult the movie, he insulted himself. His wife insulted herself. Now they insulting all men that don't think like he do. And I like I said, that's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's good for a conversation because sometimes we just want a little controversy to get the conversation going. And this whole thing is, like I said, it was really, really hard for me to finish it. It was really hard for me to finish this YouTube video because it was like John Coffey in the movie Green Mile. It was just stinging me like bees. It just kept stinging me. It hurt. It really hurt. And so I hope this is not the same pain because he said it was painful for him to finish watching the movie. If there's anything like the pain I felt, brother, I understand because that was bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need to show that. We need to show that. Mm-hmm. I think.
But that's ignorance on a high level. But you know what? That was my thing. So we got Michael Imhotep, and we got James Small. They're into African culture, African history, and just history in general, and knowing the history. And here's this guy, like I said, he's a financial person, a lettered person, and his wife is a relationship therapist. And they're what they saw when they went, and then what these people saw when they went, and just the difference. And so what that difference is based on historical knowledge. Even Professor James Small, he noted little things like the altars, the authenticity of the altars, and actually being inside the palace and him seeing that, and the authenticity of that, the being in Africa, all those things. He made mention and note of that stuff. These people, they're just, I don't even know. Like I said, it was just bad.
It was bad, but they probably have a lot of people who feel the same way they do.
Oh, they definitely do. But that's why I made the comment. Black people, African Americans, however they prefer to be referred to, complain of no on-screen representation. But when you get a great movie, or even if it's a not so great movie, you tear it to shreds. So that's why I said my challenge is that we do better, that go out there and produce that movie that you want to see. Let us see what you got, what you're working with. You can mouth off about somebody else's stuff, but what can you do? And my prayer is that we don't tear you down like you tear other people down, that we give you some love, that we give you some grace.
I can't do that.
What's that?
I can't give them love and grace. Can't do it. I can't.
Because that ignorance, oh my goodness.
I can't. I wonder, I sort of ran through a lot of, what's the man's name? You were talking about.
Boyce Watkins?
Yeah, I ran through just looking at the titles of some of his videos. And I didn't see anything where, maybe I missed it, where he does, a lot of stuff on African culture. So did I miss those things? Did you see several of them? I didn't.
No.
Everything I saw basically was on finance.
And that's why I said maybe to get away from the humdrum of doing the same thing over and over, they decided to try something different. That had to be what it was. But it was a fail. They get a fail for this. And if they didn't like the movie, that's one thing. But they were so petty and so, like I said, ghetto with their review of the movie that I don't even know what that was. I hope they watch it.
Yeah, but his thing, I'm gonna tell you, his thing and her thing was, we both have PhDs. Nobody is going to challenge us. I'm telling you, that's what they think. Nobody has enough knowledge to challenge us. That's what he's thinking.
All right, folks, get out and see the movie inspired by true events. Enjoy. And if you feel the need, and yes, we hope you feel the need, do your research, learn your history, because remember, you don't know what you don't know.